Okay, so before we go on with chemical bonding, let's talk about compounds first. Compounds are example of matter, and the components are chemically bonded together. Let me write it down. Chemically bonded. So when we say chemically bond or chemical bond, the force is electrostatic between the negative valence electrons and the positive protons. The forces involved in chemical bond can be an intramolecular force or an intermolecular force. The intramolecular force holds the atom together. For example, you have a molecule of oxygen. Oxygen is diatomic, meaning they exist as two in nature. So this is one atom of oxygen, and then the second one, or the second atom of oxygen. So the force that holds these two atoms together is called an intramolecular force. This type of force is also stronger. So the stronger the force is, the harder the substance is. Take note of that. The stronger the material is, the stronger the force is, the harder the substance. If the intramolecular force holds the atom, the intermolecular force holds the molecules. This force also determines the boiling point of the substance as well as the melting point. Now, the stronger the bonds are actually due to the electronegativity of the elements. Let me write it down. Electronegativity is the tendency of atoms to attract electrons, and the higher the electronegativity, the stronger the force of attraction. Alright, now let's go to chemical bonds. There are three types of chemical bonds, and these are the following. First one is ionic bonds. The second one is covalent, and then the third one is metallic. Ionic bonds, let's have this as our first. Ionic bond basically is the bond that exists between metals and non-metals. Let us have an example of ionic bonds. Let's say we have magnesium oxide. So that is, let me write it down first. Magnesium oxide. Magnesium is a metal element, whereas oxygen is a non-metal element. So we can check our periodic table to see if these two is made up of metal and non-metal. So by checking our periodic table, this is our magnesium and the oxygen. So magnesium belongs to the metal elements and oxygen belongs to non-metal elements. Another example is lithium sulfide. Let me write it first. Lithium sulfide. So let us see if lithium is a metal element while sulfur is a non-metal element. So again, lithium is metal element while sulfur is non-metal elements. So let's take a look at the periodic. So this is our lithium which belongs to metal, and sulfur, which belongs to non-metal element, or which is a non-metal element. Let us have the one given in your textbook, which is sodium chloride. Okay, let me write its name. Sodium chloride. Okay, so sodium is a metal element, while chlorine belongs to a non-metal elements. Again, sodium belongs to metal elements, while chlorine belongs to a non-metal element. Now let us see what happens in ionic bond. So let us take our last example, which is sodium chloride. This compound is made up of, again, sodium, which is a metal element, and chlorine, which is a non-metal element. Sodium has an atomic number of 11, which corresponds to the number of electrons in its proton, while chlorine has a 17 atomic number and 17 electrons and protons. Let us represent this by the following. Let's have the blue ball for sodium, and let's have, let's say, red ball for chlorine. Let me just hide this and adjust. Let's adjust it more. Okay. This is our sodium atom, and this is our chlorine atom. Let's make that a little bigger. Right. Now, what happened is the atoms of sodium gives off one electron. Okay. So once it gives an electron, it loses one electron, and it becomes a negatively charged ion, or what we call an ion. Right? What we call an ion. Right? Now, what chlorine does is accepts the electron given by the sodium. So when that happens, it becomes positively charged ion, which is also called cation. Okay, so let me repeat that. The atom of sodium, okay, it releases one electron, and it is accepted by chlorine atom. And these two atoms, as they have opposite charges, this one is negative and this one is positive, and as we all know that opposite charges attract, so these two will attract one another and will form sodium chloride.